Podcasting live at the time we recorded it. From the studios in downtown Gulfport, Florida, it's WGAB, the Gabcast.
Welcome back to WGAB, the Gabcast, a Gabber newspaper production. I'm Patrick Heinzen, the news and politics reporter for the Gabber newspaper, and today I'm sitting here with current Ward 1 council member and a candidate for the upcoming March 19th Gulfport election, April Thanos. Welcome. Thank you for coming on and talking to us for a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. You've been in office since 2020, correct?
Yes.
Since 2020, and you are now running for this year for re-election in Ward 1, and election season is pretty much, we're, about a month away from the election?
Yeah.
So it's definitely heating up, and I'm sure you've been very busy, but thank you very much for taking some time to come and sit with us.
Great.
So what kind of are the main touch points of your campaign for this year? I know that anybody who's been to a council meeting can understand you're a stout environmentalist and you really enjoy talking with the community, but what would you say are kind of the main things that you want to look at with your campaign this time?
Basically doing more of the same,
Mm-hmm.
So yes, environmental issues are a big issue because we're right on the coast. We're very low.
Mm-hmm.
Climate change is happening. We've seen that from the weather this past year. And we need to be prepared and plan and do as much as we can. We can't raise Gulfport. That would be ideal, but we can't do that. So we need to do whatever we can and find out what the latest state-of-the-art things are to do. We are doing a sustainability study and a stormwater study, and especially the sustainability study. You need that to get grants for the kind of projects that we might find would be useful to help prevent flooding and other things.
Yeah.
So that, and of course the trees and the tree giveaway, and I'm hoping to get even more money for trees because there are grants out there for that. And whatever we find that we can do that would help mitigate heat, flooding, sea level rise, storm surge.
Yeah.
We're doing living shorelines, so that helps. Maybe we could get them in town shores and PYCC to do that as well. It's a little harder there because they have a lot of boat ramps and all that. But, whatever, because I go to a lot of meetings, and so whatever I hear is something that they're doing somewhere, if it's something that might work for us, then I would bring that to council. And then also, it's getting definitely more expensive to live in Gulfport. And so whatever we can do about affordability. And on council, we can't do much about the insurance other than lobbying the legislature. But, the kinds of things we can do, we should look at. And that's some of the issues about workforce housing that I've been looking at.
Yeah, I remember at the last council meeting, there was, you brought up a discussion about affordable housing and about kind of, like you said, there is sort of a misconception about how much the city can do themselves, but that doesn't mean that the city can't do anything.
Correct.
And you and Mayor Henderson were talking a little bit about that and how that is a thing that will be addressed after the elections. But for this next month, what do you see? I think, what is there, 2 more meetings until the election? So regardless of whether you're reelected or not, what do you think you can do in those 2 meetings to continue to promote the things that you've been talking about? Because I know when I talked with you this week for this week's article about some of the leftover questions from the candidate forum, you said that while you said that you're interested in the position because there were things that you saw that you cared about that were being represented, but you were also very much so talking about how the biggest thing that you care about is what the community cares about.
Correct.
So how do you feel that in these next 2 meetings you can kind of continue to promote that, whether or not you're reelected, how you can make sure that whatever you are putting together is setting up Gulfport after the election?
In the next 2 meetings, I don't think there's much, to be honest. But I did see, somebody sent me an article about what they're doing in another city, and I'm going to send that to the other council people so they don't think that it's just me and my ideas, that this is happening all over the country. And again, there's things that we can do to build more duplexes, triplexes, mother-in-law units, that kind of thing. If people want to. It's not like you're telling somebody they have to. It's only if they want to. But we could make it easier to do that so that would add more smaller units. So, they're still going to be market rate, but at least they're smaller, so they're usually less expensive.
Yeah.
And then, again, I think it takes a real community conversation to see whether the community wants to do that. Because it might be something that's happening in a lot of places, and it may be the only things that we can do, but we have to decide whether we want to do them.
Exactly.
But I think it should be a community conversation rather than just the council.
Yeah. Along with that, kind of, like you said, you care more about what the community has to say, and you're very active in the community. I've noticed you've had a lot of meet and greets, and you enjoy talking with people, but what is something that through your campaign you feel like people should know about you that isn't really talked about, or that they wouldn't know?
About me personally.
About you or your campaign, anything,
Well, I think a lot of people don't know that my background's in international shipping, and that I've lived in Greece, El Salvador, London, and Australia.
Wow.
So I spent over 10 years overseas. I have she'll be 40 this next month, year-old daughter that I adopted from India as a single parent. So I've always been a single parent. And she, of course, traveled with me to not all those places, but most of them. I love my pets, and
I thought it was so cute. Last time we were filming our podcast, they were setting up for Flora's meet and greet that was happening, and I thought I remember seeing the banner and how cute it was with, "Hi, I'm Flora," and me and my mom are inviting you and your dogs to a meet and greet. I thought that was adorable.
Flora's very popular.
I remember meeting her. She was great. Just looking forward for the future of you in Gulfport and on council. If you are reelected, how do you think the council would continue to work, considering the rest of the council is supporting your opponent?
The rest of the council supported my opponent last time. So it's really no different than it's been all along.
Yeah.
I don't understand entirely why they I mean, obviously everybody can support whoever they want.
Yeah.
But I sometimes feel like there's personal animosity about what things that I bring to council. And I never mean to bring things because it will irritate somebody. It's because I've been going to meetings and learning these things, and most of the others don't go to very many meetings. And because I don't work, I can go. So I'm trying to bring these things back to the council to help us move forward and to help us make the most informed decisions that we can.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'll continue to do, and again, I think the more support that the community brings, the more people who come to council and express their feelings, whether they agree with me or not, at least we'll go in the direction that the people want to go.
Absolutely. Do you think that feeling of, I mean, like you said, you don't intentionally bring stuff to tick off the other council members or upset anybody, but do you think that the feeling of the way that a lot of the things you bring up are shot down, or especially with how you've been pushing to have recent town halls or workshops and they've asked to wait until after the election, do you feel that that's discouraged you in any way, or do you feel like it's a little bit more fuel to the fire kind of thing?
So I actually, did want to have another town hall about the tree canopy and doing a tree inventory.
Yeah.
As it turns out, I may have put that off myself, because it turns out with meeting with Public Works and Dave Mather, who does our IT, that it's way more complicated than I thought. So it probably, we weren't ready to do it then anyway. And so, and I know that they've mentioned that before, but I didn't know it was a rule, but whatever, I'm fine with that. And, some of the other people in town might not have been, but whatever, we can wait and we'll deal with it when the time comes. And even if I don't get on council, I'll still want to do a tree inventory, and I'll still want to do things like native plantings around Wood Ibis Park and other things, just like we did the rain garden before I was on council.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited for the rest of the election season. I'm sure you are too, although it's a lot of work and a lot of busyness. But thank you so much for sitting in and speaking with us, April. I really appreciate you being here.
You're welcome.
And good luck on the rest of your campaign.
Thank you.
Tune in next week to hear us talk with Tom Bixler about his campaign, but also stay tuned right now for everyone's favorite segment, Cathy with a Cop, coming up next on WGAB, the Gabcast.
Did you know, in 1968, our founder, George Brand, started the Gabber newspaper, then called the Gulfport Gabber, to hold Gulfport City Council accountable. Read more of our City Council coverage and learn about our policies on reporting, fact-checking, and funding. Visit thegabber.com.
Hi, everyone. We're back. I'm Cathy Celestri-Loper, the publisher of the paper. And, of course, we're here with Chief Rob Vincent, Gulfport Chief of Police. Thanks for being with us. I know you have stuff.
We got 3 minutes.
We got 3 minutes. This will be easy. So as long as we're talking about elections, I have never seen an election in Gulfport where the Gabber was not given multiple reports of my signs have been stolen.
I bet we got more than you.
Oh, no, I'm sure you do. But I will tell you, I had a sign for the brief time where I didn't work at the Gabber and I could have a sign in my yard, I had a sign taken. And I was like, son of a bitch, they stole my sign. And then sure enough, no, my sign was not legally placed and they came and took it.
Oh, the city took your sign.
The city took my sign.
Case closed.
There you go. So the point is, this sign stealing, because we've had one of the candidates' supporters have been calling saying, did you know so-and-so has had some campaign signs taken? And my response is, well, we're not going to cover sign theft unless the police actually make an arrest and charge somebody with campaign sign theft or whatever that is. We're not reporting on it because it takes away from the issues, right? But, I mean, how serious of a problem is this? Does it matter? I mean, it matters. You shouldn't steal property, but...
Sure. I mean, if it was my sign, I'd be concerned. But in order for us to make an arrest, they would have to steal $750 worth of signs. I'm not sure how much the signs cost, one sign, but I imagine that's a lot of signs.
So you don't arrest people for less than $750?
Nope.
I got to go next door for a minute. No, not the same thing?
We could write a report, send the report to the prosecutor. The prosecutor could file charges. You could end up sentenced to jail after a trial, but pretty unlikely.
So you just don't. And this upsets some
We'll
people.
take the report. If there's any evidence to follow up on, we'll follow up on it. If we can make a case, we'll make the case and send it up. Hi. But it's
the state. It's up to the state is what you're saying.
But on the scale of things that are happening in Gulfport, that's definitely not our top priority for police work.
So how many calls would you say? I know you didn't come with all your stats, but how many calls do you get during elections about this?
Probably a couple a week on average, I would say.
And what do people do when you give them this answer? Are they upset or do they just kind of go, okay?
Well, the first thing we do is check our own records to see if it was a police officer who may have moved it. Every time,
with me.
Yeah. Every time a police officer finds not every time, if they are going to take some sort of action to move an illegally placed sign, they will first try to move it onto an appropriate area. Now, a lot of times, signs are placed on the right-of-way, and the adjacent property owner says, no, I don't want that on my property. So then we have to take it. And then if we can't find the candidate's representative to give it back to them, then we just discard it or hold it. Same with city code enforcement. They'll take them up, too. So if we find that we took it, then we can say, all right, here's your sign, come get it. Otherwise, we're not going to keep it because, if we have to keep their sign around forever, then they're going to pay a fine for the illegally placed sign in the first place.
All right, fair. Okay, so you said that you got other things to police. What's the biggest problem in Gulfport?
People leaving their cars unlocked is the biggest problem.
So
Has been for a long time.
Hearing about people leaving their cars unlocked. I'm tired of running the press releases and rewriting them and trying to find a new way to tell people lock your car.
Well, obviously, let me rephrase that. problem is us catching the kids who are doing it and nothing happening. You probably saw in the news this week about proposed legislation for stiffer penalties for kids who are caught with guns. That's because there are currently very little in the way of penalties for any juvenile crime. It's been that way forever.
Well, that's how you told us last week you got to be a cop, is you didn't get a record for whatever horrible thing you won't tell us you did as a child.
I told you.
Yeah, I know you did. It wasn't that big of a deal. But okay.
I didn't take a gun out of a car, though.
So as someone who has had things stolen at a place I live from, burglary, one of the things that came as a shock to me is that it's not the cops. You can do your job. You can do everything. You can even catch the people. And I had a police officer not in Gulfport tell me I'm arresting the same kid every week.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just a cycle. And that's got to be very frustrating for officers.
Yeah, young kid we arrested. I wouldn't say we arrested. He was probably arrested 15 times for auto theft as a juvenile. Shortly after his 18th birthday, he decided to do the same thing for which he never had any consequences. Turns out the car had 2 children in the back seat.
Oh.
Now he's going to go to prison for kidnapping. So had he learned his lesson as a kid through some kind of consequence, he might not have done that as an adult. And it's just frustrating.
That's sad.
Very,
Whole life
very
changes.
frustrating. Yeah.
But had he stolen any campaign signs?
Didn't find any campaign signs in the car.
There you go. Chief, I know your time is short. Thanks for being on the podcast today.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next week. We'll hit more hard-hitting, non-campaign related crimes. I hope I didn't just jinx us with that.
Oh, gosh.
I know. It's coming up on a full moon. You never know.
All right. It's on my calendar.
Okay. We'll see you next week, and we'll be right back after this.
The Gabber newspaper? Yeah, we go there.
We're back, and look who's back with me. Assistant Editor Cam Healy, News and Politics Reporter Pat Heinzen, and we're almost done. We have one great thing to talk about, I understand, right?
Yeah, so the ever-popular and mysterious Gulfport Family Restaurant piqued the interest of Gulfportians since its sudden closure in 2022, but the restaurant isn't coming back, but there's somebody new there.
So a restaurant is coming back.
A restaurant is coming back. The Gulfport Family Restaurant is no longer there, but we have an exciting newcomer coming in.
Did we not send somebody to take a look at what's happening there?
We did.
Who did we send?
That's true.
We sent our very own assistant editor, Cameron Healy.
Hey, it's me. So I had the pleasure of talking with Sal. He's the owner of the Corner Cafe, which is now in place of where the Gulfport Family Restaurant previously was. And like we said, it just closed in 2022. And so Sal, he bought the restaurant in July of 2023, and he had a lot of changes for the place. One of the things which I find very exciting is that he will have server bots. He'll have robots that will bring the food out as like kind of a food runner expo. There will still be human servers. Don't worry. Somebody will be taking your order and greeting you. But that is some way that the food will get from the kitchen to the table is a robot.
So an expediter, a food expediter.
Yes.
So do we have to tip the robots?
No.
Do we have to tip the servers?
Yes.
Always tip
Can
your
I-
servers.
Always tip your servers.
Can I be mad at the robot if my steak is raw?
No, that has nothing to do with the robots. The robots did not have anything to do with that.
So wait. Let me go back. Because when an expediter brings your food, you're like, okay, this is great. I need a side of mayo. Can you tell the robot you want a side of mayo?
That's a great question, Cathy. We should go ask.
I think we need to go eat there.
Okay, we'll go do that when they open. So what's happening is they aren't opening until the beginning of March. They said late February, first week of March. He has been approved by the city to open in January, but he was like, no, I want things to be perfect when I open. So he has a couple more weeks to get ready. He said there's going to be a grand opening. He's very excited because this is still going to be a family restaurant, but it's going to have a little classy vibe to it. He put all of his 40 years of restaurant experience into making this place have that family restaurant feel, but still make things classy and
The
pretty.
pictures look amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And I drove by it today.
Yeah.
And it looks totally different. It doesn't look
Definitely.
anything like it looked.
Is it
And,
still
like,
the same facade as the...
No.
It's
It's-
a new building?
It's the facade is different.
Okay.
It's like, so if you hadn't seen the family restaurant before, it was kind of more like a diner looking vibe, like the checkered flooring and like red seats, like
Old school. It
Yes.
was old school.
and now everything's kind of has a
Gulfport fancy?
it's like fancy. It's a little bit more modest looking. But all of his entrees, so he's gonna have breakfast and lunch, and all of it is very decorative. He said no plate will leave the kitchen without any decorations. He has the edible flowers, homemade sauces, and various toppings for everything. So I'm excited to try the pancakes. They looked absolutely amazing. I don't know, and they're relatively inexpensive too.
Yeah.
I feel like when people think classy, fancy, you think it's going to be a little bit more expensive.
Well, whenever
No.
you think there's a robot bringing your food to the table,
A little
but they look really
No.
cool. So go to thegabber.com and find the article, which is in our food section and business beat section, and you can see the pictures of the robots have names. You said, right?
Yes, actually they
Tell
do.
us about that.
He said that they're named after his granddaughters, Angie and Annie.
Aw.
So they really are making a difference in his restaurant.
And they can sing happy birthday too.
Yes. Oh my gosh. He showed me that they can sing happy birthday. It's not like, the words, but it does the tune. And then at the end, it says happy birthday. And like, it's very cute. So there's like a little program within the robots that will happen is like the server will press the screen of which table it's going to, and it will just roll on over there. And the server or whoever will grab the plates and put them on the table. But at least I'm thinking this is going to be more innovative and helpful for servers, because I've been a server having to hold multiple plates all over my arms.
Well, that's what they're for. I can
Yeah,
still do that in my
and
house.
But I'm just saying is like, this will be helpful for any server just needing an extra hand without having to be like, hey, can somebody take 2 seconds to help me? You have a robot.
And the server doesn't have to tip out the robot like they would a food runner. So that's more money for the server.
Everybody's happy. I'm hoping. I'm excited to see how the robots work. I've never
I-
been in a restaurant
I
with a robot personally.
Don't you have a birthday? One of you has a birthday
My
coming.
birthday's soon.
Your birthday's coming up
Your
soon, so-
birthday's close to when it's opening.
So we should go there.
I'm gonna be off on my birthday.
Well, we should go there the day before your birthday
Early
And-
birthday celebration.
and have the robot sing happy birthday to you.
that'd
be
be actually
great.
so fun. I can't wait.
All right.
I'm very excited. I mean, we are sitting outside of Stella's, so I'm sure that people aren't gonna destroy their loyalty to one of the best
No.
breakfast
No,
restaurants in
nothing
the area.
is going to
but
stop people
Nobody's
from coming to
asking people to
Stella's.
do that.
no, I'm not saying, but I'm just
But
saying I'm
Stella's
very
doesn't-
excited to go and try some different breakfast food in
Stella's doesn't
Gulfport.
have robots.
No, they don't.
And
They have great
also, when there's a
servers.
2-hour wait in February on a Tuesday for Stella's, it's nice that there's an alternative, because
That's-
otherwise people just show up at Stella's cranky and hungry that they had to wait 2 hours.
Yeah.
better for
so there's a new breakfast and lunch restaurant in town, and I think they will hit it off with Gulfport.
I'm sure.
Looking forward
You
to
know, I'm excited. So they seem very excited, and they have a lot of new things going on. All these upgrades. Apparently, when he bought the place, every permit was out of date, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to start over." Like everything was let's
it. According
from-
to him, right? Let's
Yeah.
just make sure, because we'll get letters like, no, it wasn't.
Okay, yeah, again, this is what he said to me. So everything was updated.
Well, Cathy, along with that, because I'm relatively new to Gulfport, Cam's relatively new to
Yeah,
Gulfport.
Cathy's been here since
Could you-
the dawn of when were the dinosaurs here?
I was going to ask. If you could tell us a little bit about your experience with the Gulfport family restaurant
see,
back then. Well, you
it
don't got to talk
was-
about your personal, but like,
It was a very different Gulfport, right? So
Yeah.
when I moved to
Wow.
Gulfport, there was no Stella's.
oh wow,
There was no Tuesday market.
Not my Gulfport.
When I get really mad trying to park to get into the Gabber office, I'll say, "Damn it! When I moved to Gulfport, you could come to Gulfport's downtown and find a parking spot." So that
real.
feels a little bit like, "You damn kids, get off my lawn." But Gulfport Family Diner was just eggs, bacon, and hamburgers. It was definitely a diner. I don't want to say it was like retro, because it just was a diner. It was a very different.
Wasn't retro at your time. It's retro for me.
Retro is something that happens intentionally, young one.
Vintage? I don't know.
It was old. It was old.
They talked about it on In Living Color.
Oh my gosh. Dang, I miss the 80s.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So you let me know when you're done.
I'm done.
So much fun to come on this podcast.
I did have a question that I
think
just did not.
I
That
think
just
I
interrupted
answered
you.
it.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
Well, no, that was you did
if
answer
you
the
say
question.
dinosaur, you're fired.
I love dinosaurs.
Fired.
OMG.
What did I answer
No,
your
yeah,
question?
you did. I just
Okay.
wanted. I mean, like I said, we've talked about the Gulfport Family Restaurant has a certain mystique. You know, people.
It had an aesthetic that
Yeah.
was really probably not working in Gulfport as much as it did 20 years ago. So, when people are allowed to retire, but I think, April was on the podcast. This is how we'll close it out, right? April came on the podcast and I didn't hear her answer because I was not on mic,
Mhm.
but I think part of what April's struggle is people sometimes are a little fearful of change, and she's pushing for things
Mhm.
that, and I'm not saying that we endorse one over the other. That's not what I'm saying, but I think that's been part of her struggle.
Yeah.
And I think as we have more people move to Gulfport and things change, it can be hard for people.
Mhm.
Some change is good, though. I
Mhm.
mean, if a
Absolutely.
restaurant isn't working and somebody wants to retire or sell the business, they're allowed to. Somebody new comes in with a new thing. It happened with the Gabber. We bought it. We changed it. Brought you two chuckleheads in.
You're welcome.
Got some youthful energy in the office.
We definitely
She's
do. But
Lucky.
yes, well, let's just leave it at that. So I'm happy to see. I'm happy to see something new there. I can't
I'm
wait to go
excited.
see the robots and
Oh yeah.
not tip them. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Which one are you more excited to see, Angie or Annie?
I don't know. First, I have to look up how these robots work because I am so old.
I know.
Anyway, and with that,
Thank you for watching and listening. Oh, sorry. My bad, Cathy. Never your pretty face. Oh, my God. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week on WGAB, the Gabcast.